All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. Today, we have the pleasure of talking with Dave Clayman. Hey, Dave, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, Chris, thanks for having me. So, my name's Dave Clayman. I'm the co founder and CEO of 12 Points here in Concord, Massachusetts. We have a bit of a unique business. We run a wealth management firm, a retirement advisory firm, as well as an investment bank. So, a few different things to help the entrepreneur through their journey.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, entrepreneurs are your main focus, main type of client?
Absolutely. Entrepreneurs and business owners. Yes, sir.
Nice. Nice. We'll definitely dig into that. I want to start at the beginning. How did you get into the world of finance?
That's a funny story. I was actually running a sandwich shop with a friend of mine, and he got a job at Payne Weber in 1997. And a few months after he started, he said that the person who trained him was moving up and he needed a partner. And he talked me into not wanting to make sandwiches for the rest of my life. So I thought it'd be a good short term gig for a 23-year-old.
Yeah. So you enjoyed financial advising a little more than sandwich advising.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What was it about financial advising that captured you?
I think it's the opportunity to help people realize their dreams. So we see people all the time who don't think about what it means. They've just kind of got their head down, especially as the business owner, just head down, driving forward, keeping things going. And they're so busy making a living that sometimes they forget to make a life. So we really try to help them think about those things.
Mm, okay. Can you talk about kind of your career journey and how you went from Payne Weber to your next phase?
Sure. So started at Payne Weber in 97. We were bought by UBS in 2000. I was there until 2009 when UBS decided they were getting out of the commodities business, and I had a commodities trading practice. So my boss came to me and said, "You should probably find another home." So I went to Smith Barney. A week later, they were bought by Morgan Stanley, and it was a good 5 years. But come 2013, 14, it was time to fulfill my dream of founding my own firm, and that's what we started in 2014.
Mm. Was that always the plan to go independent?
Well, I didn't know that at the time. So actually, when I was 18, way before I was thinking about financial advising, my grandfather had been visiting Boston and we were sitting in the airport. And he said to me, "David, my boy, someday you'll start your own Fidelity." And so I was planning on going into accounting, but I guess he knew better. And I always considered that a promise to him. So we finally made that promise come true. Well, I don't know if it's my own Fidelity, but we're working on it.
That's great. Your grandfather was a bit of a psychic, it sounds like.
It does, yes.
Yeah. And can you, share what it was like kinda leaving the big wirehouses to go out on your own?
It was a little bit scary, to be honest. We had uh, an associate who was thinking of joining us originally as part of the plan, and that person decided no towards the end. And at the time, my partner and I were, she was 25, I was 40, and she looked at me and said, "But you never leave the office. How are we going to do this?" And I said, "I don't know. We'll figure it out." So we actually left with a commodities business and $32 million in assets, and we now are a commodities business and about $1.1 billion in assets. So in 9.5 years, it's worked out okay. We figured it out so far.
Wow, okay. How does one go from 30,000,000 to over 1,000,000,000 in assets? You said 9 years?
Yeah, 9.5 years.
Wow.
Blood, sweat, and tears, honestly. I wish there was some. Everyone always asks us what the magic is, and the magic is, my partner's personality and hopefully a little bit of mine, but, it's been the grind, and, we live it all the time, and we have, 25 people on staff now who do an unbelievable job, 4 total partners. It's been a great team, and it's, been a fulfilling experience.
Mhm. That's great. Can you talk about the partnership? It sounds like you were 40, she was 25. Can you share uh, kind of the different responsibilities and why you guys thought your partnership would succeed?
Yeah, so she actually started out I hired her as my intern, and, uh, and then one of my other interns as well was a partner, and I just could see in them a dynamic, a magic that I thought would make for great things in the long run, and that was the opportunity that, again, they were kind of the outside people and I was the inside person, and I've run the organization and they've driven the sales, and I helped them close business, but it's been a really good yin to my yang, if you will.
Mhm. Got it. So you seem to have an eye for folks who are great at business development and sales.
I need to find a few more, but yes, I've been fortunate to identify a couple of key players, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. And how many interns did it take to find these folks?
Uh, they were my 4th and 5th interns maybe,
Okay,
but,
wow.
you know, we've had a very long string of success of having interns come on and become permanent employees. It's worked out really well.
Mhm. You probably make it not easy for an intern to get the role. They have to um, check a lot of boxes. So I'm sure that you pre-vetted these folks to give them the best chance of success.
I like to think so. So we've had, like I said, it's been a good run, and they've taken on some significant roles in the company over the last few years. So yes, definitely
Mhm.
had good luck.
Nice. Can you um, can you share, for those folks out there who might be doing the sales and the management themselves, can you share some tips or tricks on how to spot a good partner?
I think for me, it was noticing a drive. I've long said that when we hire for looking for a person who wants to do the right thing, be a good person, and work hard. The basic skills, you can argue how well I've done any of them, but I've done every job from assistant to CEO. So I can teach the fundamental skills. I can't teach someone to be those three things, and those are the key three that we look for.
Mhm. Awesome. Awesome. That's great. And do you know um, any specific strategies that these partners use to find new clients?
A lot of hours of networking, a lot of connections, a lot of trying to focus on being a resource to people before focusing on making them a client. So, we as a firm have adopted a book called The Go Giver as our firm
Ah,
philosophy.
yes. Yep.
And my the first partner I was talking about, she always says to me, "I want to be Pindar, but I want to get paid to do it." And I said, "Well, we're kind of getting there. We're not quite there yet, but we're heading the right direction." So, really being a resource to people and showing them, whether it's the Maya Angelou, nobody cares how much you, excuse me, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Or it's the Roosevelts, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. If you think about those couple of things as leading philosophies for us, that's brought people to us, and we've been fortunate enough to attract a lot of people that way.
Mhm. So how do you show that you care to a prospect and become a great resource?
I think it's demonstrating to them that we are there to help them, whether we work together or not. And that's something we tell people in a first meeting. Our only goal in a first meeting is to show up and support them, to learn about what their dreams are, and then figure out whether we're the right fit. And if we're not, to think about maybe there's someone else we can connect them to. And, that's whether they're a prospect or a center of influence. What can we do to help them advance? Because in the scheme of things, if you do the right thing, eventually it's going to come around your way.
Mhm. Awesome. How do you tell if a potential client is a good fit?
So again, my specialty is working with entrepreneurs and business owners, and what we are known for is being a leader, and having clients that are open to being challenged and supported. So, really being engaged in that process of exploring what they can do to improve the outcomes they're looking for themselves, the people and causes they care about.
Great. So what fights are worth what battles are worth having with clients where you push back and challenge them on something?
One is helping them see a bigger vision of themselves. Most people can't engage in what could be. When they look at their own life, they're in it. And it's really hard to see what those possibilities are. So we have that outside perspective. We can help with that. Also, having those conversations about, well, if this is what is most important to you, then maybe these sacrifices need to be made. And that happens sometimes. And most advisors will shy away from that conversation because, well, that's how they get paid, right? So why cause friction? And at the end of the day, causing that friction can make a really healthy long term relationship and have the best outcome for both yourself and the client.
Awesome. So it sounds like your partners, they do a lot of the business development and you do the management of assets. Is that correct?
Well, I did do the management assets for a number of years, up until 2 years ago when we actually hired a chief investment officer. Being CEO of the company was becoming too much to be also be the CIO.
Yeah.
So we consult, but he is the chief cook and bottle washer on the portfolios these days.
Nice, nice. And does he work solely for you guys,
Yeah.
or how's that?
Yes.
Okay, got it. And how did you find him and know that he would be a good fit?
Sure. So we did a fairly extensive search. We actually interviewed 13 different candidates from headhunters
Hmm.
and decided that Steve was ultimately the right fit, that his philosophies and mine, while not exactly the same, certainly rhymed. And that was key too to be able to hand over the reins.
Awesome. And to that end, can you talk about hiring? You said you have 26 employees now?
25, but yes.
25. Sorry. You'll have the next one soon, I'm
There
sure.
you go.
Um,
Yeah, hiring's a challenge. You know, you get a very short window to know that the person that you're taking on is going to be the right fit for your culture. And especially coming from a firm that started with 5 people and now being at 25 and keeping that go giver philosophy, that culture, that hard driving. We are a fast paced environment around here. We talk fast, we move fast, we there's not time for a ton of chit chat, and we really do treat each other like a family outside the office, but inside the office, it's time to get stuff done and get to work. So, um, it's challenging to find the right people. We've had a lot of success, but a couple of misses, and not bad people, just not the right fit.
nice. And when you realize someone isn't the right fit, what's the best way to handle that?
So a couple of times we've repurposed because it was just not the right fit for the role. But other times it's just having a conversation about why it isn't a fit. And, we certainly still need to improve our practices when it comes to employee feedback and things like that. We're by no means perfect, but the ability to realize what's important to the organization as a whole and putting the organization as a whole first has really been a success story for us, I think.
Awesome. And is everyone on the team, are they local, or do you also hire folks,
We
all
are
over the place?
largely local. We have one remote employee. She's dynamite and hard to replicate in the retirement plan industry. So she's worth being remote. She's down in North Carolina, actually.
Yeah, nice. So you you prefer the in-person team member?
We do. And I know the world's changing a bit, but it, again, we're so fast paced and so much stuff happens in the office. It's hard. We had one employee who was out for a little bit for health reasons, and they just said they missed so much by not being in the office. So, at least for now, and I know the world's The world's passing me by a little bit, but at least for now, yes, we prefer the in-office.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is so much to say, about that, and I think there's a lot of intangible things lost when your workforce is predominantly remote. Just those water cooler conversations and lunch interactions and, you kinda lose a lot of the social camaraderie, all that stuff. So,
Yeah. And
I
culture is so important to us. I think it's important for now to stay that way.
Mhm. Yeah. Amen. So let's take a step back and talk about your ideal client and why you chose them. Can you
Sure.
share a little bit about that?
Sure. So our ideal client is the entrepreneur. I'm entrepreneurial in nature, obviously, and unlike where I was in the wirehouse, now I have to make payroll. I have to control expenses. I have to deal with employing people. So I can share some of the struggles and some of the success stories and some of the tips with fellow entrepreneurs. We can relate on the things that we find are challenging balancing work and life. And we also have built the firm such that, we know people who can help get capital early. We can help them set up a retirement plan to keep and reward their best employees. We can help them with their wealth management as they're growing, and we also can, on the investment bank side, help sell the company when the time comes. And then last but not least, we can hopefully manage the wealth that comes from their life's work. So it really is an opportunity to be the entrepreneurial firm for entrepreneurs and business owners.
And typically what size are these entrepreneurs?
Sure. So that's a harder question. We do have a firm minimum of $500,000, but we manage everything up to, you know, clients worth a couple 100 million. But what we're looking for is that long-term relationship. And sometimes it starts out as just the retirement plan that we're running for people. So it's not any one. We work with clients $5 to $15 million. It doesn't come out quite that simple. And we are playing the long game. So if it is a retirement plan for now that can turn into a great client in the long run, we'll often look at clients before some of the large wirehouses will. And we hope that works out to our advantage in the long run.
Mhm. Well, there's so many, additional options an independent advisor can offer that the wirehouses cannot, so that's, just right off the bat, you're like, obviously, everyone should choose an independent. I mean, it depends on their situation, but, can you talk about some of your differentiators?
Sure. So I think that structure of the firm to be able to handle all aspects is an important differentiator. I think that the general firm culture as an entrepreneurial firm meshes really well with those clients. We obviously have your important bread and butter, your we financial plan well, we invest well, we do those things well, but the added services and the resources that we can bring, one of my partners and I are own part of a networking group, so we get great access to almost anything someone can need, and to be able to be again that resource to our clients. I like to say we're really really good at the stuff that isn't on our business card, and that I think is the differentiator, what we can bring to make a client's life easier. At the end of the day, that's what we view our business as, is to take away some of the headaches and make their lives easier, whether they're financial or not.
Mhm. Yeah, and it seems like you can directly relate to a lot of your, clients' major issues because 'cause you're like, "I'm an entrepreneur as well." Like, I'm my, ideal client, so I get it.
Well, I'm a bit of a pain, but other than that, yes, I'm my ideal client.
Well, you can always remind your clients, like, "Listen, you will never be as big a pain as I am to myself."
There you go. I like that.
Awesome. So, the title of the show is the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast, so I'd be remiss if I didn't at least ask, to the level that you are comfortable sharing, how did you find your largest client?
Sure. So I'll actually share two if you don't mind, real quick, because one
More the
was
merrier.
when we hired one of our other partners away from another firm. He came with what was our largest client for the last up until a year or so ago, and we were 2 years old and under $100 million in assets. And I sat in his living room in Florida, and he said, "I'm going to be your largest client." And I said, that's both a good and a bad thing. So I get where you're coming from, which is probably looking at the bad, but on the good, you can know that you're going to get every ounce of everything I've got, because we're going to make sure that you stay and you stay happy. And it's been a great relationship. And I think he's glad he made that decision. And I know I'm glad he made that decision. So, and the second one was actually, strangely enough, it was a golf outing for a charity. We do a lot of charitable work. And same partner was out for a golf outing, and he almost didn't go because the two people he was supposed to go with canceled. And he said, "You know what? I'm going to go." And he got paired up, and he happened to be next to this gentleman. And the guy said, "What do you do?" He said, "I work at a wealth management firm." And he said, "Oh, I'm all set. I work with blah, blah, blah." And he said, "Okay, fine." And 5 holes later, he was asking, "So what is it again you do? And can you tell me a little bit more about how you do that? Because I'm not actually all that happy." And it may or may not have been one of the banks that ended up going bankrupt this year that we were fortunate enough to take his business from. So
We'll leave that to the audience to connect the dots on.
exactly.
Awesome. So definitely play more charity golf
Yeah, I told him it was the best
events.
that golf tournament was the best decision he ever made.
That's awesome. Um, cool. So we'll take in a little lighter direction. I understand you're an avid car collector. Can you tell us a little bit about your car collection?
I am. So Mustangs are my passion, American muscle. I collect everything from 64 and a half to current. And when I met my wife, she said, "Just so you know, I don't want to have kids." And I said, "Well, I guess it's time to expand the garage. You don't have to pay for college." So that was my version of financial planning. So that's when the collection really grew.
Nice. Yeah, I love Mustangs. I'm kind of mad this new electric Mustang. I'm like, it's not a Mustang. What are you
Yeah,
doing?
I hated they named it that. I actually owned one, to be honest, and I just got rid of it
Yeah.
about 3 months ago. I traded it for the new Bronco. So
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, you have plenty of great cars, Ford. Why does this one have to be a Mustang?
yeah, I agree with you on that one. I just called it the Mach E. I stayed away from the other M word. I didn't call it that.
Yeah. That's interesting. So you and your life partner never had kids?
No, she did not want to have kids, and it you know was an interesting spot in life. And as I told her, well, I love you now more than I love the idea of someone I haven't met yet. So let's do this. And we've had a great time. We travel a lot. We do a lot of things that are different. And I have some great friends whose kids call me Uncle Dave, and it works out great. It's a great.
Mhm.
It's been very fulfilling.
That's great. I just got married 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And my wife is very adamant about not having children. And I'm kinda it sounds like you and me are cut from the same cloth here. It's like, "Hey, it'd be cool if we did, it'd be cool if we didn't." Like, either way is fine. So, I'm relieved to hear that you guys are still loving life.
Oh yeah. We we actually we I have a motto, V cubed O, and it's Venemus, Vedemus, Viximus, Omnia. We came, we saw, we lived it all.
Amen. Um, awesome. So we're coming close to needing to set you free here. So the final question I like to ask is an open-ended one. You can take it in any direction that you like. And the question is, what are you working towards?
What am I working towards? Well, since I don't have kids, what 12 points becomes really is my legacy and what I'll leave. So for me, for our partners, we're expanding into different brands. As I mentioned, entrepreneurial at heart, and really business is business. And so if you understand how a business runs, you can do almost anything, hopefully. And if the brand really stands the test of time as that trustworthy brand that people can believe in, I believe much like Citigroup did many years ago, 12 points can expand nationally and also into other areas of business. So that's what we're really building towards.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. And if your track record is anything to look at, I'm sure anything you guys set your mind to, you will achieve.
Well, thanks. We're pleased but never satisfied.
Yeah. Amen. So where can our audience find out more about you in 12 points?
Sure. So it's www.12points.com, and the 12 is spelled out. So TWELVE points with an S.com. And you can also email me at dave@12points.com.
Awesome. And we will be sure to note that in the show notes. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and my audience today.
Thank you, Chris, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, had a great time. All right, and go Pats.
Huge Pats fan, so absolutely go Pats. We got some work to do. We're not what we once were, but hopefully we can have a good season.
Yeah, I'm from Tampa originally, so
Okay.
I appreciate you guys lending us Brady for those 3 seasons.
There you go.
That was the most fun I've had being a fan in 20 years.
I'm sure.
So awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for taking the time to listen. Keep on growing out there, everybody. We'll see you later.